Hey dudes and dudettes, it's Simon Hurley and welcome to today's video. Now today I'm going to be taking a look at the Karin Brush Marker Pros. I'm so excited to test these out. I've been seeing them all over social media and it's kind of a new trend in card making. I think I'm catching it kind of right in the middle of it. I wasn't going to give in to these markers, but then I decided that I wanted to purchase them to share with all of you guys, to test them out and review them and see if they're worth purchasing. So without further ado, let's get on with the video. I got the smaller box that they have, but they do have tons of colors and larger boxes, and I'll be sure to link all the sizes down below in case if you are interested at the end of the video, you can kind of see what size is right for you. Alright, so Karin already gets an A+ for packaging. I love this box that you can kind of store them in and keep this in later. It has little indents for each marker too, so if you want to keep these in here forever, you definitely can, and it creates a really nice storage system for the markers to sit in. I really like when companies think of extra packaging or good ways to have the customer store them, and this is definitely one of those. Alright, so one thing that's kind of different about markers compared to other watercolors or my inks or things like that is the paper is everything. And so I actually had to order a new kind of cardstock before I did this review because it wasn't working amazing on the cardstock I have. So that really applies to any product in your craft room. If you're not finding good results, test out different cardstock and variables like that. Today I'm going to use the Strathmore BRISTOL cardstock. I'm going to compare this to my other cardstock that I usually use for things, and you'll see that this one's a lot better for markers because with markers you want something that kind of sits on top of the surface, and this has a little bit of a coating on top of it, which you totally want with markers. So I'll link down below to this cardstock that I purchased that works really well for these. Alright, so I wanted to show you it first on the Simon Hurley Create Stark White cardstock. You guys know how much I love this cardstock for inking because it doesn't have a coating, but with that being said, that means the markers are going to sink in pretty darn quickly. So let's test it out here. I'm going to go in, let's see, this one's called turquoise. I'm going to kind of scribble some marker down, and then let's go in and water it out. So of course, if you were just using the markers like this with solid color, this is totally fine. But if I go in and I try watering this out, you can definitely see that it's starting to move with water, like it's still going to react nicely. So if you want to do different techniques, like I said, with more solid coloring, and then go in and react it with water. But the thing you'll notice here is you get that line where the marker was. So it doesn't really lift it up completely, it still leaves a lot of the marker down on that surface. Is it still going to move with water? Yeah, so it just really depends on what you want when you're creating. Alright, so now let's move into the BRISTOL cardstock. So I'm going to use this same turquoise color that I've been using, and I'm going to lay the color down. And the first thing you can see is you can kind of see the strokes of the marker right at first, and then it kind of smooths out. And that's because, again, it's got that coating on the surface. So it still is a little bit wet on there. As I tilt it in the light, you can see a little bit of shine. What that means is if I go in with a little bit of water and start with my water brush, you're going to more easily pull that color out and get a lot more smooth of a watercolor. So you can see there, the line where I put that down is basically gone. It's disappeared in that cardstock, and you have a lot more time to sit there and move the color around and really paint it in and make it look like a watercolor. Now I want to show you guys kind of blending the colors together to get that really smooth blend in between. So I'm going to go in here with kind of a yellow, and then I'll go in with a little bit of orange. Pull these colors together in the center. And you can kind of go back and forth between colors to blend them. Now if you want to too, you can of course go in with your water brush and kind of smooth that out with a little bit of water. And you can just see how easily that color is picking up and how easily I can move these and blend them together. Alright, so I thought that was a pretty important point to go over right at the start because I missed out on buying that BRISTOL right away and I had to wait a couple days to use the markers. So I wanted to let you guys know right away so that if you do purchase these, you can also purchase the BRISTOL cardstock along with and get a really great experience from the start. So now let's take a look at the actual marker. This is just a regular marker. You can actually see the ink kind of moving in here, especially on lighter colors, which I think is kind of cool. You can kind of see it up there, nice and full, and then I assume that as you use it up, it'll kind of go down, but I like that you can see how much ink is in your barrel. I think that's really cool. And then this is a nice brush nib. The thing I would compare this to is similar to a Copic brush nib, One thing I like about it is it's a little bit more silicone-y, so it's not going to kind of peel apart if you apply a lot of pressure. It's a nice firm brush nib, but I haven't had any problem with them peeling apart yet or kind of coming apart at the end like a felt brush nib would. I actually like that it's nice and solid. It seems a little bit easier to get ink out of there and add a little bit of shading and get into some details. Having this nice solid tip means you can get really thin lines and also super thick lines like that. So I like the kind of brush nib that they added on the end of this marker. So now let's go in and make a card so we can do some coloring on it. I'm going to go in with the Brilliant Baubles stamp set from my new Simon Hurley Create release and do a little bit of stamping. Now when it comes to stamping, you're going to want to use a waterproof ink. Here I'm using the Jet Black Archival ink, and that's going to make sure nothing bleeds since these are water-based markers, and we can go in and do some watercoloring too. For this first one on the left, I'm going to do 3 different shades, and I'm going to blend them together without using any water. So I'm going to start off with some violet blue on the edge, and I just want to throw this in here. Wow, this is a really dark color. So I just want a little bit of that one. Then I'll go in with a little bit of royal blue. You know, I'm kind of taking that back. We might need to add a little bit of water since these are really super dark colors, that it might help to blend them because I can't really see the line detail, but we'll see. And then I'm going to go in with a little bit of Arctic blue to blend that out. And you can see, you can get a nice smooth blend between the colors. That's really what I wanted to show, is you don't need to use water. Because these have so much playtime on the Bristol cardstock, you're really easily able to blend between them. And I'm noticing these are definitely a lot more juicy than some other markers that I've tried, so I really like them for that reason too. Now, one other thing that I like about this is the pack actually comes with a blender in it. So if I want a lighter color than what's in the pack, I can go in with the blender marker and kind of bring that out a little bit to blend the colors together. Okay, so once that's all finished, there's that blend between those 3 different colors. And I think the blender is similar to just using water, so you can kind of do either one, whatever you prefer, but I think if you're on the go, this is definitely a really cool option. If I'm just in my craft room, I'll definitely just bring out the water to do that. And now I want to share some easy blending with water. So if you think of this, you might not need as many colors to blend because you can kind of smoothen out them with some water and make them lighter. So I'm going to go in with a little bit of magenta red. I like that they're all labeled on the side here too. I'll go in here and add a little bit of shading onto either edge. There's lots of ink coming out, so it kind of puddles up. But I like that you at least get a rich saturated color when you're doing this. And then look how easily those blend out to create a little bit of a lighter color in the center. And to finish this off, I'm going to go in with some lush green. I think this is a nice Christmas color combination. And I'll do the same thing. Add the color to the edges here. And I'm not worried about any harsh lines there because I found these markers are actually better than most at blending out and getting a nice soft blend without leaving a ton of marker down on that surface. So I like just how smooth that blends together because some markers I'm like worried about where I put it and how jagged the lines are because they leave the lines in the surface. So this is really cool that it doesn't. Alright, I'm going to go in here with a little bit of almond, and again, I want to test out kind of how scribbly we can make this background and still get a nice blend. So I'm going to just lay down some of this almond color, then I'll go in with my water brush again with lots of water, and go in here and start fading out that almond color. And this one is nice and light. I'm just going to go in with lots of water and start pulling out that halo. Alright, these are highly reactive, so I accidentally tapped a little bit of that purple and lots of the color started seeping out. So one thing you could do that's pretty easy is just kind of sop up some of the excess color, and that'll help kind of forgive some of the mistakes like that. So the purple was dry, so just you gotta be careful when you're going around other colors because these are super reactive. Okay, so once that's all blended, it's still a little bit wet, but you got a nice halo around those images, which I really like. Alright, so now I'm gonna do magenta, gold, and Arctic blue together, and I wanna create kind of a background. So I'm gonna go in with the magenta first and just scribble down some color. And again, like super easily applies ink. Sometimes with markers it kind of skips over, but even applying these fast, it's really simple. And then I'll go in with the gold, and again, you can get a nice blend. Look, that creates a beautiful orange in between there, which I think is super cool. You could do that. Bring that down. And then we'll go in with a little bit of Arctic blue. And that creates that beautiful green. So you get kind of a nice rainbow with just these three colors, which I really like. And then I'm going to go in with a little bit of water. First I want to use some water on my surface and see kind of how these react with it. And how they bleed and blend. So you can see they're like blending without even the help of a brush, which is really awesome. Not every marker will do that, but I love that these kind of react and create a cool watercolor effect and kind of start to soften out those outer edges. So I'm just going in here with my sprayer and just starting to spray the edges to kind of soften those and make it look like this wasn't just markers doing this. Alright, so I helped speed this along in the drying process with my heat tool, but I think it came out really cool in the end. So with adding lots of water with just a spray bottle, you can get these colors to really move and soften the edges, which I think is super cool. You really can't even tell like I just colored this in with markers. It looks like I went in and did a really cool watercolor background. The one thing I do have to say is the paper did curl up a lot, so a lot of this yellow went to the edges, but if you have it taped down, it won't mix and mingle as much, but I love just the different colors and tones you get, and also it is so bright. Like, the colors stay super nice and saturated, and I love the bright colors that are in this set. Alright, so one thing I want to try is some calligraphy, since these tips are kind of meant for that and are really good for calligraphy apparently. So we'll do, I'm not the greatest at it, but we're going to try. We're going to do some thin strokes and a thick stroke on our way down. Really focused over here. Alright, that's about as good as we're going to get, but then one thing I wanted to test out is adding in color after the fact. So I'm going to go in with a little bit of magenta here, and I'm going to do what I see a lot of calligraphers doing on Instagram, and that is going in and adding some color on these down strokes. So I'm just going to go in and flick a little bit of color in there, but then I'll go in with a little bit of water and my brush, and we can kind of help them move and mix together. But I really like this for calligraphy too. So if I was really good at brush lettering, and I might even try a little bit with these, this is definitely a great tool. Alright, I can't comment on what's super good for calligraphy, but here's how my piece turned out, and I really loved the tips of these markers for calligraphy. That really nice brush pen tip, which is kind of more silicone-y and more stiff, is one of my favorites, and I didn't feel like it was going to break during any of the process of coloring or doing any brush lettering from today's video. But I love too that you're able to easily go in and apply lots of color down with the side of that brush nib. So it really helps to have it on there. I'm sure there are a lot more techniques than what we just did in today's video, but I'm really excited to use these in future videos as well here and there as I do some coloring. And also I think they'll be really cool to take on the go and do some coloring on the go. Be sure to leave comments down below on what you think of the markers, if you have them and enjoy them, or if you are thinking about purchasing them. I would love to chat with you guys down there in the comment section, and if you enjoyed the video, please give it a big thumbs up. Be sure to hit that subscribe button down below so you never miss another card making and crafting video like this one from me, and I'll see you guys very soon for another video. Have a great day. Bye!